What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Today we have a somewhat unique pistol for us to take a look at. It is the Archon Firearms Type B. Now right off the bat I have zero connection to Archon. If you are wondering or worried about it, this pistol was loaned to the channel by my friend. He is known as the Asian Assassin, but don't tell anyone. His real name is Randy. He let me borrow this for the review, and I just wanted to say thank you to Randy. Alright, let's get right into it. It comes with not one, not two, not three, but 4 magazines, and that is dope. Most guns, I'm happy to see 3, let alone 4. The disadvantage of the magazine is going to be the capacity. It only holds 15 plus 1. I think a gun this size, it's the same height as a Glock 17, I would like to see it hold 17 plus 1. The magazines, however, are metal. They're high quality. I didn't read or see or hear or know of any issues with the magazines. Plastic, base pad, overall, I think the magazines are pretty good to go. Mag well is also very, very nice for a gun this size. I think most people, this is going to be maybe a duty gun, but definitely an EDC carry gun. And I think the magazine well looks very, very nice and nicely done for a carry type gun. For competition, you may want something bigger, but magwell for this gun is good. Now the grips have a lot of interesting things going on and a lot of pros and one con. The shape of the grip, the grip angle, I love it. I think it's all very, very good. No issues there. Now, when I first saw it, I thought, man, that grip is going to be slick, 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 but it's not. They have these small little pyramids, triangles, whatever shape they are, I don't know, and they're all angled different ways. Like somebody big brained this one here, and they angled the grips based on the way the gun recoils. So, for example, the shapes in the front are angled up because the gun recoils this way, and it helps you pull down on the front, where the shapes in the back are angled down for the same reason. So when the gun recoils, it helps you get a better grip. And man, somebody absolutely big brained the grip. I was very, very impressed with that. Now, it doesn't have any back straps, so if you have abnormally large hands or abnormally small hands, this may not be the perfect gun for you. Underneath, the beaver tail has a very nice, generous beaver tail, but underneath that, it has a bump out, a stick out. I don't know the technical term for it, but it sticks into the webbing of your hands. And again, if you have huge hands or really small hands, this may mess with you, but for me, it did not bother me at all, didn't affect me at all. But it's something a little different, that little bump out, so I figured might as well mention it. Magazine release is in a good shape. Good spot, good texture, it drops the magazines freely, all that good stuff. It's reversible. The problem with it though is when you push the magazine release in, on the other side of the gun it sticks way, way out to the point where when I was trying to release that, hit that magazine release, it was hitting my middle finger on my strong hand, and it would stop the magazine from falling freely because it was resting on my other hand. And that's only one of 2 cons I have with this gun, but it was a big one because I was trying to do those magazine exchanges. It was stopping the magazine from falling freely. So if you get this gun, maybe make sure that middle finger gets out of the way on magazine exchanges. Something you just need to practice a little bit. Not the end of the world. One thing that's really nice is going to be the trigger. It has a solid, solid trigger. Now when you first pull the trigger up, it has this weird movement to it. You don't really feel it, especially when you're shooting. You definitely don't feel it. But you can see it. I think that's the drop safe part of it. It's kind of hinged in the top in a weird way. I don't know. But there's a little take up. You come to a very, very solid wall. The wall is solid. It's a little on the long side, but it's not bad. The weight is great. If I had to guess, probably around 4 pounds or so. My trigger gauge is broken. I gave up on it. And then the reset, it's good. It's very, very good. It's very tactile, it's very audible, slightly tactile. It's not very long. Comparing it to a Glock trigger, night and day difference. This has 1,000 times better trigger than something like a Glock or most other polymer striker fired guns. Definitely better than most. So the trigger is steel, just so you know. So if you're mag dumping a ton, the trigger might get a little bit hot, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. The trigger guard itself is huge as well, so if you folks are like me and wear gloves at the range when it gets cold, you will appreciate being able to easily get your fingers in there. Alright, move on to the rail. The spacing for the rail is good. I tried Surefire, Streamlight, Olight, Enforce, and a Mod Light, and the spacing was not the issue. The issue, or the Tough part was the height of the rail. This gun has a really, really low bar axis. The barrel sits much lower inside this gun than most, which is one of the reasons it shoots so nicely. Because of that, I don't think the magazines are quite as long. Like I said, it would be nice to see 17 plus 1, and I think because of that and the unique recoil system that I'm going to show you in a second, the light sits significantly lower, or a bit lower than most guns, and it makes it just a little bit harder to reach that light. Kind of have to break your grip a little bit more than I would like. Another thing, going back to positives here, another thing that Archon did really, really well is the slide release. And no, I do not care if you don't call it a slide release, because I do. So the slide release is a little bit higher than most, so it's out of the way. The reason I like that is it's almost impossible to ride that slide release when you're shooting and have any issues with the slide not locking to the rear. Absolutely fantastic. But also it's in a spot that makes it very easy to use it as a slide release if you're like me and you choose to use it as a slide release. So A++ on the slide release. That's one of the best things on this gun. Another thing I love, a lot of praise for this gun, is going to be the serrations. Both the front and the rear serrations are very, very aggressive, so however you run the gun, you'll be good to go. The front serrations are very unique, where the slide is cut away a little bit here in the front, and that makes it even easier to grab the slide to run the gun or to do press checks or whatever you fancy boys and girls are doing with the slide serrations nowadays. Sights, you have two different options for sights. This setup here is a red fiber optic on the front and a blacked out rear sight, which I love. I picked up these sights extremely well, especially at distance. It has a ledge for one-handed manipulations. It has those serrations. For glare, I don't know if that's ever really a thing, but they're on there. If you don't like this sights, you can also get night sights for an additional cost. If you want to get night sights, that is a factory option from Archon. The best part is it takes Glock sights. There is about 5 trillion different options for Glock sights, and if you don't like either one of these, you can put your favorite set of sights on here because it takes Glock sights. What's next? I need a drink, man. Wow, I'm talking a lot. What's next is the optics cut, or the lack of the optics cut. Now, you buy one of these guns, you can send the slide to Archon and they will cut an optic cut for you for an additional $200. That's steep. I'm sure there's other companies out there that will do it for less, but I forgot to check. Also, I'll give Archon credit. This gun has been out for several years before optics were a commonplace on pistols like it is now. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt there. But I would like to see them sell 2 versions of this gun, one with the optics cut already done and maybe one without, or just all of them with optics cuts, whatever. I think optics are becoming so popular, there's no reason I should have to send my slide back to the company and pay an extra $200 to get an optics cut. They should make it available with and without, or just with, whatever they prefer. That's my beef on the optics cut. Alright, taking this gun apart is a little bit different than a Glock. There's no pull takedown levers. There's a pin in here. I'm just going to push the pin out with this little screw I have here. Now the pin is captured so you don't lose it. It does not come out all of the way. You want to triple check, make sure the gun is unloaded, point it in a safe direction, pull the trigger, and then the slide comes right off the frame. Now a couple things in the frame I want to pull out is it has a steel frame, a steel chassis, a steel whatever. And that's one of the things that makes the gun shoot so nice. It's a very rigid frame, gives you a little extra weight when you're shooting. The rails are huge. The rails go up and down almost the entire gun, or 3/4 of the gun anyway. So that is one of the reasons this gun shoots extremely nice. Another reason is going to be the recoil spring. It's a little hard to get out here, but it is really hard to get out. It is a triple recoil spring. There's 3 springs on here. The 3rd spring is not a captured spring. It can come off, so be careful not to lose it. I'm going to call it a locking block what the spring butts up to. I'm sorry, I don't know the actual technical term. I apologize. But that lifts straight out. It actually locks the barrel in place, and that's a very different design than your standard, tilting barrel that you see on so many guns. It's definitely a funky design. Once you take that locking block out, whatever, I'm drawing a blank on the name, then you can take the barrel out, and again, it's just a very unique design. So let's pull up the dimensions here. The length of the gun, again, is right in between a Glock 19 and a Glock 17. It's not quite the length of either one. It's right in between. But the height is going to be the same height as a Glock 17. It's definitely significantly heavier than both of them and a little bit more expensive than both of them. Most important part of the review, let's talk about the testing, and I will try to keep this as short and sweet as possible and not ramble on, even though I love talking about the testing. So I brought this to the outdoor range 3 separate times. I brought it to the indoor range twice, and I did all sorts, of different types of plinking. Didn't get any shooting from the indoor footage, just the outdoor one. I shot some gallons of vinegar for another silly video that I'm doing. I plinked a bunch of steel. I love shooting steel. It's fun. Of course, we do magazine exchanges to test out the gun's magazine release and see how that works. We did some shooting behind cover or concealment, whatever you want to call it, just set up some barrels. And this is really one of those guns that once you start shooting the gun, it shoots really, really nice, especially for a gun this size. It punches outside of its size, outside of its weight class. You know, you would expect this performance and the way it shoots out of a much bigger gun than this. So it shoots really, really solid between the steel frame, the trigger, the weight, the low bore access, and all the other thing I mentioned. It is absolutely a great shooter. That is my first pro. Is a sweet, sweet shooter. My second pro is going to be the grip. Again, somebody big brained this grip with the different angled pyramids. That's pretty slick. I thought the grip was going to be slick, but it wasn't with the different angles. It's pretty good. The trigger is solid. The trigger feels great. The serrations, especially with this cutout in the front, is dope. I like that. And I like the low bore access. As far as the 2 cons that I have for this gun, I mentioned them already. One is going to be the lack of an optics cut. Every single gun, unless it's a super budget friendly gun, in my opinion, should be available with an optics cut. Make fun of me if you want, but that's what I believe. The second is going to be the mag release. Again, when you push that mag release, it sticks so far out on the other side that it hits my middle finger to the point where it would stop the magazine from dropping freely and have that little malfunction, I'll call it. And that's something you just need to be aware of. And be careful if you're going to get one of these guns, and train and be ready for that so you don't have any issues. Overall, I think it's a solid gun. It's a great gun. They have a good reputation. They seem to be very reliable. I personally think it's a much better option than a Glock 19. Now, you won't have the aftermarket support as a Glock 19 between holsters and accessories and all that good stuff. But it shoots a lot nicer in my opinion. And if I had to pick one, no doubt, I would spend the extra money on an Archon over a Glock 19, but I'm not a huge Glock 19 fanboy, so if this was optics ready, I would take it over a Glock 19. The optic has to be there. Alright, I am done rambling on. Let me do a little bit of shilling. First, let me thank my friend Randy, the Asian assassin, for loaning me this pistol. Greatly appreciated him. The sponsor of today's video is Ocean State Armory. Ocean State Armory does some dope engraving. They do really nice Cerakoting custom guns. Discount code is Tiberious. If you want to pick anything up from Ocean State Armory, hook me up, hook yourself up, hook them up. Use that discount code, please, and thank you. These are the other companies who support me with affiliate links. Again, link, video description down below. They are all down there. Patreon supporters, I always like to thank them because I shoot way more ammo than I should, and they supply a lot of the ammo to this channel. So thank you to my Patreon supporters. I started a second YouTube channel. God forbid this one ever gets killed, zucked, Google-fied, whatever you want to call it. I'd be happy to have a backup channel. That one there is dedicated to YouTube shorts, quick 15, 30-second videos. Very different from these long-winded reviews that you see on here. If you want to know what reviews I'm working on right now in real time before they come out on YouTube, you can check me out on Instagram and Facebook. Once again, the links are down in the video description, and I am done shilling. I don't know if you can hear my dogs barking in the background, but let me thank you guys for liking my videos, commenting, subscribing, enable the bell notifications, definitely sharing a video. Anytime you guys do any of that stuff, it really helps me out, and I truly appreciate it.
I can't search for videos on Apple Watch.
Always listening, my man. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.